Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Food and Finance Show. And today we have another great guest on, and we are diving into the topic of cloud kitchens. And we are going to South Africa for this topic. And we're going to be bringing on Simele. So definitely stay tuned for the show. Welcome to another great episode of the Food and Finance Show, where we talk about two things we know you love: great food and money. So stay tuned because we got a great show coming your way. So without further ado, let me bring on my guest. Simele, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks, Terrell. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. My pleasure. The pleasure is all mine. So, so many people are talking about the concept of cloud kitchens and really trying to understand what is that. So can you tell us a little bit about your background and how did you even get into the concept of cloud kitchens?
Yeah, so my background is I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I've been in various different types of businesses: courier, butchery, farming, whatever opportunity that rose that I could get into, I did. And in 2019, we started our own restaurant, my co-founder and myself. We started a restaurant back home where we originally from, because we're in Joburg currently, but we originally from a province called KwaZulu-Natal, which is about 3-4 hours away from Johannesburg. And we started a restaurant in November 2019, which, as you can imagine, was the worst possible time to start a restaurant. But in between November and the lockdown, we wanted to find a location in Johannesburg where we could open up another variant of our restaurant here in Johannesburg. And what we found and we struggled to get was just retail space. Retail space that, one, that we could afford, two, that was well located, and three, that could facilitate what we actually wanted to do, which was just serve good food without having to worry about the high cost of running a restaurant. And we struggled. And that's when we started looking into the ghost kitchen space. And we saw there was really not a lot of players in South Africa who could provide proper ghost kitchens. And that's when we started looking into the space thoroughly, and looking at what works, what doesn't work, how to the best way to go about it. And we ended up deciding, we need to start our own ghost kitchen company, because the struggle that we had, most likely a lot of people have, because affordability was a huge issue for us. And we thought, that could be the same thing. And not just affordability in terms of having the money, but also taking that risk with all that money. If I can put it in US terms, you're probably looking at about $60,000 to open a restaurant. And not a lot of people can do that. And not a lot of people can take that kind of risk. And we had just been hit by the one that we had originally opened in KZN. And so we decided, let's do ghost kitchens. Let's start a ghost kitchen company. Let's help more people. Let's enter the space that we saw at the time was really growing in South Africa. I think in 2019, ghost kitchens were worth, or food delivery rather, was worth about $1 billion just in South Africa. Wow. and only growing. So we figured that is one opportunity we shouldn't miss. And we decided to go into the ghost kitchen space. So basically for us, it was just meeting our own needs more than anything of a ghost kitchen for ourselves. Nobody else was doing it. So we thought best way to do it is just do it yourself.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Now, when you guys first started talking about the ghost kitchen, or just even explaining to other people what a ghost kitchen is, what were some of the expressions that you started getting from people?
You know what? It's funny you say that. The first thing that happened to us was we actually found a space that we wanted to build our ghost kitchens in, because we wanted to get like a fairly good space. So we got about, to put it in feet, we got about a 2,000 square feet space. And we decided, that's where we're going to go. That's what we're going to do. We drew out the plans. We spent money on architects. We spent money on guys to come do quotations on the gas, on the electricity. And we made an offer for the space. We said, the space is viable. We made an offer to the landlord. Landlord accepted our offer verbally. And when they had to come back to us with the signed offer, all of a sudden, nobody's getting back to us. We can't get hold of the landlord. Wow. And in no time, in a very quick space of time, we just said, no, we don't want to do this. Go find a different place in the industrial area. We're not gonna give you our space. And so we struggled to convince landlords to allow us to build ghost kitchens in their spaces. So that was the biggest hurdle we had to overcome. to actually find a landlord that was willing to take the risk and allow us to actually build these facilities. Because when you think about it, we coming into a retail space and we're completely turning it around. So we, like the space that we have now, that we eventually found, once we got the landlord to agree, we decided we're not going to be so forthcoming with our information. We'll just sign on the dotted line and surprise them as we go along. So next thing they see will be these extraction units coming out of their roof. Like, oh, sorry, yeah. By the way, we need to put up a whole lot of extraction in your building. Because the one thing we learned very, very quickly was giving people information up front scares them, because nobody knows what ghost kitchen look like or what to expect or what actually happens here. So luckily enough, they agreed, and we've been going ever since. But we struggled getting landlords to agree, because in South Africa there was no reference point, so we couldn't say to them, "Have a look at this. This is what it's going to look like." It was just all in our heads, and for them to imagine was very difficult. But eventually we found one. But now it's much easier, because we've got a sort of proof of concept that we can say, "This is what it looks like." And now the reactions are vastly different. Now everybody wants us to build in their buildings. Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I mean, because even when I think about for myself, the first time I heard of a ghost kitchen, and it's like, I wonder what images come to people's mind when they hear that word. Because even for now, there are still some people where the concept of a ghost kitchen or a virtual brand, like those things, they don't have a reference point in their mind just yet. So, as you started, now that you guys have a concept, what are some of the pictures or some of the ways that you help new people kind of understand what the concept of a ghost kitchen is?
It's difficult. We see it now that, when you say to people there's ghost kitchens in here, they don't understand what that is. They're like, because everybody understands the restaurant as a concept of somewhere I walk to, I see a waiter, I see a chef, and I get my food. And I tell them, no, well, some of these restaurants you actually know from your Uber Eats app or your Mr. D app, which is what we have here in South Africa. And only then they understand, oh, so these guys don't exist as a brick and mortar store. They exist here. I'm like, yeah, they don't actually exist. So that's the struggle we've had, like convincing people and making them understand what it is from the consumer side. But also from the business side, when we initially started, we had a big struggle convincing restaurants to convert to ghost kitchens, because we thought it would be a good idea for big restaurants to convert and start small ghost kitchens to be able to service that online demand through ghost kitchens and still be able to do their brick and mortar store as well, and their kitchen concentrate on walk-ins and sit-downs. So we struggled to get those people convinced. But I think with COVID coming in, then we started seeing a big uptake of people seeing the value of having ghost kitchens, because they couldn't do what they used to do with restaurants because of the lockdown. And so now people started wanting more ghost kitchens, wanting to know more. But from the consumer side, I think consumers still don't understand what ghost kitchens are. Consumers still don't understand and fully grasp what a ghost kitchen is. As far as they're concerned, whenever they see a restaurant on their app, they think somewhere out there's a restaurant I can walk to, which isn't the case. And it's the same with our facility as well. We've got 10 kitchens in our facility.
Wow.
And some brands have 4. Some kitchens have 4 brands running out of them, and some people just can't believe that. So you'll explain, no, there's actually 4 restaurants running out of that kitchen, and they just don't understand that concept. So yeah, so it's been really cool. It's been really cool to be able to teach people, not only just the consumer but the business side, and convince them that ghost kitchens is the way to go. But yeah, it's been a learning curve for everyone, including ourselves and everybody that we've been involved with.
Gotcha. Now, one of the things I'm curious, because we've had a conversation or had some other people on the show who are, ventured into the ghost kitchen space. And one of the interesting things that they talked about is, for them, it was having so many concepts under one roof was figuring out how to find, I guess you say, commonalities for the ingredients. Where, have you guys experimented with that, or has that been a similar experience for you, as just finding base ingredients that can be used across different concepts?
Yeah, no, I think guys have gotten really creative in the space. Some, I would say, too creative. I've seen guys call the same thing six different things on six different brands. You're like, dude, it's all just the same thing, you know? But it's great for them because, as far as they're concerned, on the Uber Eats app, you appear six times. So that's why it works for them. But the guys that have legitimately done different brands have been smart in making sure that they've got one common ingredient that runs through all of them. So if you're going to be doing, we've got a kitchen that does four brands, and it's all are centered around Indian food, but street food, or a chicken brand but with Indian ingredients, or wraps with Indian food ingredients. So they've been smart to make sure that the common theme or the common ingredient is chicken, but done in various ways and applies to different brands. So yeah, I think that's very important because just in terms of your costs, in terms of the way, because you're limited in space as well. So you can't have multiple and different types of ingredients. You simply don't have the storage space and you don't have the working space to do that. So it's very smart to have one ingredient that runs through all your brands and is done differently. And that's not to say do chicken wings six times, but do chicken six different ways in a very smart way. And I think brands have found a way to do that really, really well. And I think another good way to do it is just to take advantage of the different times people eat. So you have a brand for breakfast and just run, say, from 7 a.m. till 11, and then you close it. And then from 11 till 4, you've got a lunch brand that runs. And then from 4 to 8, you've got a supper brand that runs. That's another way guys do it, where they've got sort of brands that open in different times. And that I've seen work well as well.
Wow, wow. I mean, there's so much. I would say, I mean, it's almost like this new strategy to restaurant business has evolved, and I think with, like you said, with COVID, it's definitely made people think out of the box.
Yeah.
So for yourself, I mean, what has it been like? Like I said, working through, like I said, these creative ways of approaching probably the restaurant industry is probably something that has been around for thousands of years, but it's just like, how is it seeing all these innovations come to this, this, pretty old industry, but there's so much change happening. How has that been for you?
I think what we found is old also means closed off. And what that means is there's a lot of young entrepreneurs who'd love to enter the restaurant industry, and for the longest time they couldn't, simply because it's just unaffordable. And ghost kitchens have changed that. Anybody can become a restaurateur now. Anybody can open a ghost kitchen. Anybody can get their food tasted. And I think that's what I love about what ghost kitchens are doing. They're allowing people who wouldn't have been able to enter the space to enter it. And we see that all the time. We see guys who really young that we approach us, and because we understand where they're coming from, it's easier for us to say, what, we'll give you a shot, come in, do it, and push through, because our kitchens provide you with everything that you need. We put in all the equipment, all the infrastructure. So we put you in a position where you literally just have to come in with the ingredients, pots, stuff, and start cooking. If you want to be a one-man show, you can, So the important thing for us is to have consumer, entrepreneur, and the food, and being the middleman to bring them together. And I think that's what I love about ghost kitchens. It's allowed new entrants into the space, and that's great for the consumer because there's variety, and it's great for businesses because more people enter the business arena. So I think it needed it more than anything. I think the restaurant space needed ghost kitchens more than ghost kitchens needed the restaurant space. It's just the access that it's allowed, I think, is amazing.
I think that is awesome. So now you alluded to some of it, but can you tell us a little bit about, some of the brands that are, or some of the styles of food that are in your kitchens?
Yeah, so because the way we run our ghost kitchens is that we wanted to put them in what we call shopping complexes or shopping malls. So what that has allowed us to do is to have a sort of like a pickup area and a sit down area for our ghost kitchens. So when choosing our brands, we made sure that we needed to have variety. So when you go on our app, because we've got our own app called Jozi Feast, where you can come on and order from all our brands, mix and match, and that sort of stuff. So what that meant for us is we needed to make sure that it's varied in terms of the components of each brand. So we've got sushi brands, young, hip sushi brand. We've got a Ghost Wings brand that's tailored around American style wings. We've got some Indian curries. We've got some street food. We've got some West African food. We've got some South African traditional food. We've got some barbecue, So we're very varied in our brands. And most of the guys that we have are first-time restaurant owners, young entrepreneurs who wanted to come to the restaurant industry, and we've opened that up to them. We've said, you know what, if you've got a great concept, you've got a great brand, come through to us, and we'll do everything in our power to make it happen. And that's how we've structured our ghost kitchen. So we haven't gone for the old and established. We haven't gone for the same old. It's new, it's young, it's hip, and it's different. And that's how we want to do it going forward as well. We want to grow these guys into national brands. We want to open up more spaces for young guys to come in and enter the space.
Awesome. I love it. Now, one of the questions I'm very curious about is, as you kind of think about where you guys have been is, what does the future look like for a Jozi Cloud Kitchen? Like where do you guys want to take it, or where do you foresee it going next for you?
Yeah, look, I think the demand for ghost kitchens in South Africa and probably the whole world is huge. We're getting 3 or 4 requests for kitchens a day. And unfortunately, the one facility that we have is full. But we're hoping in the next few months to open up aggressively across Johannesburg and then hopefully across the rest of the country. Because the demand is there, and I can understand why. South Africa lost over 3,000 restaurants during COVID. So there's a whole lot of people out there who want to go back in. There's a whole lot of people who want to come in for the first time. So those two environments create a whole lot of demand for ghost kitchens. So for us, we want to meet that demand as much as we can, and we want to grow as the ghost kitchen industry as much as we can in South Africa. So that's the plan. Over the next 6 months, we want to grow aggressively across the country, make the brands that we have national, and give other people in other parts of the country an opportunity to enter the restaurant industry. So that's the key for us over the next few months, just growth and making more of these opportunities available to people.
Gotcha. Now, speaking on the business side, one of the pieces that that I've come to learn and becomes very important for the ghost kitchen space to work is on the partner for delivering the food or getting the food to the people, since it's not your traditional concept of, hey, people just walk in, they show up, order their food and leave. Like, how has the relationship been with developing with the delivery side of the business?
Yeah, so we rely mostly on third-party deliveries for our guys. So we have Uber Eats and we have a local player called Mr. D. So those are the two main players when it comes to third-party delivery for us in South Africa. And we've had good relationships with them. I mean, I think they understand the value that we add to their platform, and we understand the value that they add for our businesses in terms of marketing and getting our brands out there. And I think it's worked out well for both Mr. D and Uber Eats to have us in South Africa, in the area that we're in, because just last month alone, we did about 8,000 orders on those platforms in just 1 month. So you can imagine that means that in a short space of time, their orders have grown by 8,000. So I think it's been mutually beneficial for us and them. But ultimately, what we'd like to do is create an environment where we do most of our own deliveries. It's cheaper for our guys. And long term, it's just more sustainable for us to do our own delivery. But I think they play an important role. And I know a lot of guys in ghost kitchens always drag third-party delivery. I think they're important. I think in terms of marketing, in terms of reach, nobody does it like these guys. They've got tons of money, millions and millions of dollars in marketing. So you need them. But I think at the same time, you need to balance that with your own in-house delivery. You need to balance that with your own sit down, with your own pickup. But in terms of third-party delivery, I think it's a mutually beneficial relationship with kitchens. Definitely.
Awesome. Awesome. So if people are interested in, just keeping an eye on the Jozi Cloud Kitchen story and what you guys are up to next, is there anywhere they can find you online or find you on social media to keep up with the story?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn. I think that's where we met as well. That with my name, Jozi Cloud Kitchens is on all the social media. It's on LinkedIn, it's on Instagram, it's on Facebook, it's on Twitter. So people can follow us there and learn more about our story. We try and post as much as we can about what we're doing, what's been happening, and people have been interested to know. So we try and post as much as we can and keep people updated on what we're doing and what we're planning to do over the next foreseeable future.
Awesome. I love it. Well, before we wrap up, one of the final questions I like asking every guest that comes on is when you think about where you've been and you think about the different things you've learned, the lessons, some good, some bad, and whatever your journey has entailed, what's two pieces of advice you would share with other business owners?
Yeah, no, I think the first one I would say is I know everybody says it, but it's one of the most difficult things, and that's just get started. That's the one thing that we did. I think that's the biggest learning we took out of this is that we didn't know ghost kitchens. We had never seen ghost kitchens. We had nothing to reference of. Everything that we learned was online. We made networks overseas, locally, and we just started and we learned and we figured it out. I'm like because when we designed our ghost kitchen facility, because we didn't know what a ghost kitchen facility looked like, one of the ways we learned was we watched a YouTube video, and I think one of the founders of Zul Kitchens was speaking. And during his speech, he then showed a plan of Zul Kitchens. And we literally paused the YouTube video and just started taking notes, So there's knowledge out there, and you don't have to pay for it. It's all free, it's all online. And I guess the second thing I would say is reach out to people. That's the one thing that I've learned is take your pride away. Don't be nervous. Send a cold email, send a cold DM on LinkedIn and say, listen, I'm opening a ghost kitchen facility in India or wherever. And I take calls like that all the time. I reply to messages, I speak to people, I share as much knowledge as I can with people. And it worked for me. We've made some amazing connections just by DMing people and reaching out. And you'd be quite surprised how well received those messages are. People are always willing to help. And so that's what I would say. Reach out and just start. And when you do start, there's knowledge out there. You don't have to pay someone for it. You don't have to give away equity for it. Just reach out to people, and I can promise you there's tons of people who will give you tons of knowledge for free.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. So definitely thank you so much for being an amazing guest, for coming on the show. It's definitely been a pleasure having you on the show.
Oh man, it's been amazing. Thank you for reaching out, and it's been a pleasure being here.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode. If you like what you heard, don't be selfish. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and then share this with a friend, because you know a business owner that could definitely use this insight. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, share it with a friend, and turn on the notification bell so you get all the updates when we release a new episode.